is up? Sexy people.
Like fucking jazz hour or something. What's happening here?
What's
What's up? Is that your Audible voice? You're listening to Audible.
I think I could do that. I could
I
do
think we could get Audible sponsoring us if we
Yeah.
didn't say dick, cock, semen, jizz,
Hey, we
fanny.
maybe need to censor a
like-
couple of things, but
One or two.
yeah, I think that's in our future, Duncan. So what is up? It's Dave, it's Duncan, back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. For this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new album from Manchester Chaospop crew, Lure In. The band's new album, We Are All Going to Hell, will be released on September 13th. Okay, so bit of context.
Was that double
here.
okay?
Okay, hold. Did I give you a bit of context here? Right, so
Yeah.
I'd never heard of Lurin before. Okay, this
Right.
is not a band we've spoken about or reviewed in the past.
Which saves my failing memory.
Yeah. However, I was tagged on a post on Twitter, or X as it's now known. I'll never call it X. All right, I'm calling it Twitter forever.
Fuck you, Elon Musk.
Our good
Taking shots. You just take the way he's never going to watch us.
Probably not. But our good man Gary on Twitter, who writes over at Echoes and Dust, he tagged us in a post, and it was basically a post by the band that they basically put up a post saying we are 99% DIY in every single thing we do, from production to distribution to booking tours, all that sort of stuff. Our second album is almost finished. If there's any sites, blogs, podcasts, whatever, are interested in hearing it, want to check it out, we'd be massively appreciated, or we'd appreciate basically any coverage, basically.
It's like the bat signal.
Yeah.
The Dave signal in the sky. You're like, I've been summoned.
So I knew nothing more than they were from Manchester. But I thought, like, fuck it. If there's one thing we love doing, it's talking about bands that completely fly under the radar.
Yep.
And no one's talking about, and we like to kind of, shine a spotlight on them. So, this is what the band said about the album. Every day you see examples of a modern day dystopia taking its hold onto our lives, be that war, toxic social trends, or the dark side of the world rearing its head. This record exists not only to point it out, but also to examine the sides of the people it affects. Victims being demonised, people controlling what they deem to be a societal norm, and how that leaves everyone fighting the good fight for those in need. You're either complicit in your silence, purposely neglectful, or completely neglected. Nothing has changed in terms of how the band operates on the DIY front. However, there is a change in personnel. This is the first record with vocalist and guitarist Sophia Soranju. I don't know if that's how I pronounce her name. I probably fucked it up. Vocals and guitars for the Manchester Dreamo post-rock band Deathbloom. And this is also the final record with founding drummer Sammy Coker. With the DIY nature of the record, the band opted to do most of the production work in-house and only delegating when needed. Vocals, guitars, bass and other instruments were recorded by the band at home, whilst the drums were recorded with Jake Botton at Noise Boy Studio in Manchester. The album was also mixed and mastered in-house by Cameron, who is the vocalist, who is part of the Daitan Films team, which this year alone he's mixed audio for bands such as Knock Loose, Basement, American Football, Skill, Speed, as well as many more artists and bands.
Every single one of them sounds like a move in American football. You know what I mean?
Sonically, the band likes to describe their sound as chaos pop. The name was coined by Alex Heinrich from the Irish hardcore band Worn Out, and it's a chaotic blend of hardcore, shoegaze, noise, and hyperpop. This record is the best example of what a chaos pop record should be, with every single element being used purposely to create different soundscapes and abrasive moments to either reflect on the lyrics or the story the band wants to tell. So, so interestingly, the band sent us the album, They sent us a...
The band sent us an enigma, Dave. Like a puzzle that broke my brain. This was the last thing I had to listen to, and the reason it was the last thing I had to listen to was because when it came through and you passed it over to me, I noticed it was one song. So I was like that. I was like, you know what? We'll leave you to the day of recording because it's one song, under 20 minutes, and spin this 3 or 4 times today.
Yeah.
Glean what I need to glean out of it, assuming it was going to be some. Don't read the PR statement, just going to stress that because you might be a new listener. I was like that. It's probably going to be one of those big, doomy, sludgy, fucking slow bastard 19-minute songs, and I will do 3 or 4 listens of that, and I will be good to go. And I'd finished my first listen, and I was like that. That's not one whole song, right? And this is confusing me. Let me just jump on to Apple Music, other streaming sources are available, and I found previous releases where there was more than one song. So I sent you a message basically saying, you may have fucked up here, or Google Drive might have been shit, but I only appear to have one song here.
Yes.
And you were like that. Nope. It's all one song, time codes listed, and the PR, which you didn't read. So I know something you don't fucking know. Yeah. And enjoy, motherfucker. And so it's for a DIY band who are looking for assistance here. One could argue they're not making it easy, right?
I couldn't make my mind up whether it was for piracy reasons, but then why would a band
chop up anything?
Yeah.
Like
I don't know. So another
I will
one
say I kind of, but I can't go too much into this without going into my review. It works.
Well, this is the other point I was going to make, was maybe it is done purposefully in that everything just kind of flows together, because
fucking works.
It works. Like, there's no real gaps between the tracks anyway. So I don't know. I didn't know what to expect. Before I even hit play, I was like, okay, lure in Chaospop band from Manchester. That's all I know.
Can I just say I am over the moon that we have, in the last couple of months, finally got you to sit down and go through the downward spiral, because I think it helps here. I really think it helps here. I think once you wait through that, I think a lot of what happens in here really kind of, you've context, you have things you can grasp and say, like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and there's no singles released from this either, so it wasn't even like a good jump on Spotify where we're like, let's have a wee listen to this and see what it's like. Nothing.
What's this gonna fucking sound like?
And like, the band just sent us one track as the whole album, so I couldn't even listen to like a single they'd sent. So I was like, just going in blind, basically.
It's how I do DIY. I know they're a DIY band, but this is how I do DIY in the house. Like, I will build, a set of drawers. One of them will never open. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I will argue that's how it was supposed to be built. That drawer doesn't open, it's just for show. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, kind of love that. Like, there's 9 songs here, but there is one song.
Yes, that's correct. So, when the intro and the title track kicked in, I was like, okay, this is a hardcore album. Cool. I can work with that. I love hardcore. Like, one of my favourite albums of the year is the Speed album, which is a fucking hardcore album. It's like, yeah, I'm down with this. The riffs and the kind of build up are very kind of typical of that style. And I was like, right, cool. And then about 40 seconds in, it switches. And I was like, all right, hold on. What's happening? What's going on here?
Hardcore.
This is not no, this is not. And then it jumps into like this kind of like shoegaze type, Deftones infused ethereal dreamland. And I was like, what's going on here? What's gone down? But it was clever. I was like, right, they've kept part of the intro riff, that kind of menacing riff that they built up with, but they've melded it into something much more uplifting at the same time. I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. I'm digging where this is going. Vocally, also the same idea. So you've got like a kind of a light and shade with the two vocalists, one being a kind of gutsy, kind of hardcore, shouty, screamy kind of tone from Cam, and then you've got a cleaner, more like shoegaze type melody in the background, which is provided by guitarist Sophia. So like first track, I was like, this is kind of intriguing. Like, and obviously it was one long track we had, so I had to keep an eye on the time code to see where the switches were into track 2. And then we're right into the second track, Your Own Worth, and I mean right into track 2.
Fine.
There's no like that ends and this starts. It's like right in, and again it kind of leans more into like an old school kind of hardcore tempo and rhythm. But there's something a little bit more abrasive about it. It's kind of noise rock adjacent, I suppose, as it kind of builds up. But just like the intro track, it's not long before lure you in to hit like a false sense of security. And they hit you with this kind of wave of like chaotic melody. And at that point I was like, right, Chaospop, right, I'm getting this. The penny actually just dropped. I was like, oh, right, I see what you're doing. This makes total sense. Like, I see what you're doing here. It's like distorted turmoil, but there's like a vein of kind of shoegaze post-punk melody that runs
You're
right through.
literally Leonardo DiCaprio from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood going, oh, fucking, that's it. It's Chaospop. You fucking see this Chaospop?
It's fucking, it's the Sixth Sense all over again. He's dead. He's fucking dead.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, so yeah, it's like this kind of mixture of chaos meets like kind of shoegaze melody, and it runs both through the guitar work and the vocals, but they both kind of balance out the chaos. It's kind of a hook, but not really a hook. It's not like a big saccharine chorus type way. It's more like a melancholic kind of mood that they add to it with a melody. But you know, that track also has like a really kind of chunky breakdown in it as well. So it's got like a satisfyingly kind of heavy part to it as well. And like even at that kind of like first 2 tracks, if you think they've used all their tricks and ideas earlier on, you're so fucking wrong. Like so wrong, because it just keeps coming. Like the Runaway Performance swings in and delivers one of the best and weirdest 80 odd seconds of the album.
It's like pop punk, but like it's like, you know, it's like pop punk being played on a channel in between some channels. Like, you know, the static that, like, remember back in the day, like you, like if you didn't tune your TV just quite right and you get all that, or like a video where you recorded 2 things that were overlapping. It's like the happiest pop punk song exists in between those, in between the static. That's Runaway Performance. Yeah, it's like, it's punky and it's poppy, but it's kind of gnarly at the same time. There's these like electro synths running through it that just fucking hit you out of nowhere. It's like, this is fucking awesome. And then like if you thought they were going to continue with that, no, they then move into this onslaught of like grindy kind of blast beats, thick kind of hardcore grooves that just again keeps you on your toes the whole time. And to be honest, once I hit that point in the album, I was in. Like, I was like, this is the perfect mix of madness just to get me excited. And I think Lure In are onto something here. I love the fact that they've pushed the boundaries even further on this release. I checked out Subdued, their 2020 album, like after I'd heard this. And it's cool. Like, it's still like chaotic. Probably leans more on the kind of metally hardcore side, but again, not predictable by any means. I think the sounds and the kind of level of creativity they've captured on this album is exactly what they should be doing, because there aren't many, if any, bands out there in the UK that are sounding like Lure In right now. Like, I couldn't think of another band that was like, that's, you know, they sound very similar to that other band. I'm not going to go through every track on this album, because I feel like partly it's probably best to hear this without knowing exactly what to expect. Also, whatever we say is not going to do justice at all.
It's not. But I love what they've done with this. I think the dual vocals are brilliant. Those 2 tones shouldn't work nearly as well as they do together, but it's like the perfect blend of textures. The hardcore stuff they do, it's not like anything revolutionary. You know, there's some late 90s, early 2000s kind of vibes in there, touch of metalcore as well. But actually, alongside the other elements they have, which are, you know, a little more kind of batshit and off the wall, the simplicity of that kind of works. You know, it helps kind of create a moment that like it'll go down a treat live, 100%. But it also kind of centers you as well when those parts kick in. I think we spoke about it right at the start, but I think the way the album flows is just spot on. Even the grindy stuff that they do on like False Shepherd Prophecies, again, it's not anything I haven't heard done before, but it's a very clever switch of pace and rhythm on the album to keep you completely engaged in it. I need to mention the production as well. Like, it is raw in the best way possible. I kind of love how unprocessed this is, but it completely works for the band's style.
Snare drum is 2 seconds away from, like, the snare drum is 2 seconds away from that plastic top on a Pringles container being popped. You know what I mean? I kind of fucking, as someone had told me they sampled that and used it, it was the first thing I picked out when I heard that. I was like, is that a fucking sample?
Yeah.
I was like, no, that's the snare, and that is alive. That's any small room, and that's not the greatest mics in the world, but you are fucking hitting that bitch.
Yeah, it reminded me of like something from like the late 90s. Like, there was a couple of albums back then in the kind of UK kind of new metal kind of scene. There was a couple of snares.
Vacant Stare, yeah,
that weren't far away from.
I would say it reminds me a little bit, like, throwing out some kind of shoegaze influence as well. It reminded me a little bit of the snare on Adrenaline by Deftones. Yeah, it's got that kind of, because that is a raw fucking, that's like licking a battery raw. And the snare here sounds, in fact, the whole drum production sounds like it could be right from that album. It's that like kind of late 90s Terry Date effect. You know what I mean? Yeah.
But again, it's like it totally works on this sound. You know, the production it went for as well. It just works. I didn't have much to complain about on this one at all. I've listened to it a good like 4 or 5 times. My only thing was, after I've listened to it now like plenty, I kind of like the last part of the album, I kind of was hoping they would go back to a bit more of that shoegaze stuff right at the end. The last kind of chunk of the album is pretty hard hitting. It's all like big riffs and a lot of chaos, and I was like just waiting on something cleaner just to come in and open it up a little bit more. But that aside, it's like small gripes, to be honest. I think these guys are absolutely ones to watch. And like, if they are open to working with a label in the future, I can't see why they wouldn't be flooded with offers after this. Like, this, for me, when I was listening to this, I was like, why is this not on Church Road Records? Like, this
100% what I was about to say.
Like, it's a perfect fit. Like, these guys should be on that label, 100%. So, I mean, they might just want to keep it DIY, which I totally get. There's bands out there that prefer that. But like, I would not be surprised if they get offers after this album, because it is really, really good. What do you think? What do you make of this?
I have zero gripes about this. I fucking love this. It is 100% like designed for me. The only thing that can make this score any higher than the already ridiculously high score it's going to get is if you told me it was fucking 2 people. Right? The band's a duo, Duncan. I would be like, skeet everywhere, honestly. This is my tempo from start to fucking finish. It reminds me of like bands that I've mentioned a few times this year that I haven't thought about for years, but Atari Teenage Riot was right at the front. Like that, like that distorted fucking, just that wall of static that just sits over everything. Yeah, just coats all this from start to finish. There's a lot of that kind of very early 90s to mid 90s 9 Inch Nails distortion and just anarchy, that energy that just, it feels volatile. It almost feels like the thing, your headphones you're listening to are like can't contain the energy that's on there. I will say that this band have a few things that make me incredibly fucking excited. The first thing is the vocals. I love the vocals on this. The textures and the tones you get are brilliant. The shoegaze melodies, but there's also like, there's that quality early on in the album where there's almost a kind of like a melodic spoken word approach, which is 2 seconds away from being like Talking Heads. And you may ask yourself why. You know, I was like, I will ask myself why why it's taken me so long to find Lurin. But it sits in that register, which reminds me of bands like American Head Charge were really good at doing that. It's a kind of almost Faith No More, Mike Patney sort of thing, where you get it's a very clean spoken word with melody that sits behind it, and it just gives it tone, texture, and it gives it personality.
Yeah.
But the shoegaze melody stuff, whenever they switch into that and everything becomes dreamy and poppy, like my dick gets so hard that my trousers can't contain it. Right? It's a fap it or lose it right situation here. I mean, it's just pure joy to me. Like it's the very definition of like tasting the rainbow. Like no Skittles required here, and don't sue us for using your fucking ad press. But like it is like whenever those sections come in, it was just like rainbow. It's like fucking full like the full prism of colours in front of me. There's a lot of Callous Daoboys in here, and the best if Callous Daoboys shagged 9 Inch Nails and it was produced by Atari Teenage Riot. Oh, and by the way, just like Napalm Death, we're watching like through the window. That's kind of what this band sounds like. It's all that shit and it's all fucking great. I love the flow of this. Like the switch it up. I know you were saying the end goes really hard. I actually quite like that because the front half of the album, I would say the front 4 songs use that dreamy poppy thing quite a lot. That kind of like the idea of the album slowly descending further and further into a more dystopian, dark and kind of nihilistic tone. The bits where they break out some grind are fucking jaw-dropping. Like, it is so vicious, so savage. You can barely make out the drums. The only thing you can hear is like the occasional cymbal, like smash, and a fucking pingy snare drum. And it's fucking awesome because it reminds me of demoing in the late 90s and early 2000s. I love the way it's put together. I agree with you. I think there is a market for this right now. We've already spoken tonight about bands that have a shade of reminding us of bands like Dodds Cascada, who are really great at capturing just like violence and like pop together in a tone, but just like almost ultra produced, and that's why it works so well. This is like its raw, nasty garage cousin. It is so fucking vicious and so much to the jugular, but like moments like Your Own Worth and Runaway performance, when they switch in at those specifically Your Own Worth, when the kind of dream pop stuff kicks in there, I swear to God, it is almost euphoric. It's just really, really, really well done, and the transitions are handled so well. And then, like, the possibility of maybe one day seeing these guys live. They play this album in its 18 minutes.
Yep.
Like, how would they not? You like in any slot, supporting, headline, whatever. You play this as a oneer, and it fucking no breaks in between. No thanking the audience. Just fucking song after song after song. You mention it a lot. I'm just going to double down on it. This is the stuff that I love reviewing albums for. And any other walk of life, Lurin would go completely under the radar for me. Just with the sheer amount of music that we have to listen to, notwithstanding the stuff that we do for reviewing, just in general, the stuff that we check out. The fact that we can get a chance to listen to something like this, and that I can just be like so invested and all in on it, this is my sort of stuff, man. I know I've got a lot of things that I say are my sort of stuff, but when you package up, when you package colour and anarchy together, and then release it in this form, I just can't get enough of it. I gave this 6 listens to today, so and today was the day that I listened to it. So, and I will keep listening to this to the end of the year, and I will actively. Didn't realise they were DIY. I will actively be going to buy a t-shirt from them as well and throw them some money, and hopefully one day our paths cross. It's really fucking good. Not for everyone, but fuck everyone. So, loved it.
Final thing, scores for Lurin's We Are All Going to Hell. Fucking taste the rainbow. It's a 4.5 out of 5 from me. Duncan, what are you thinking?
We're all going to hell. We're all wearing luring t-shirts, and we're all rocking 5 stars, bitches.
Ooh.
Full 5. Love
Holy
this.
shit.
Love this. This is everything I love.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm giving it the max. Honestly, check it out. Throw these guys some support. Like, if there is one thing I guarantee you will be like, oh, and he's so predictable these days. Something like that. Sit down. In fact, stand up, bend over, brace yourself. We're all going to hell. It's literally my foreplay words. That's how I get on.
Ooh, nice, I like it. I like
15
the way you do
seconds of passion. And then an hour and a half of regret.
Lure in. We are all going to hell out on September 13th. Links below at the band. Check them out. I don't know if there's going to be singles before this comes out. I've no idea.
How would you? Like, how do you do that?
I don't know. You might just have to wait to the 13th to listen to it. I've no idea. But I'll put any links that are available below so you can check it out. That is a review. Thank you for checking it out. Much appreciated. We'll be back with another review very soon. But until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.